Sport Day is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for July 18th, 2024. Thank you so much for being here with me. Hope you enjoyed the round table. That was a good round table for really nothing to talk about. I mean, they have talked about everything Padres related each and every week, but really good round table. I got to second the water skiing thing that Ben Higgins was talking about. Like, what's one, I guess, activity you've tried and you've never done again or you will never do again? Water skiing for me is not easy. I'm a decently athletic person, but water skiing is one of those things as Ben described it perfectly. You go up, you go face first into the water. Or you don't even go up. You just get dragged by the boat, basically. And he's right. Everybody makes it look easy when you are on the shore, and it looks amazing. I have never been able to stand up. That and a wakeboard. Just not good at the water stuff. Like, I don't like the ocean. I'm a good swimmer, but I've never been able to get up on water skis. So that was a fun little addendum to the All-Star Game roundtable. That's where I was going with it. And I'm so happy to be back. And thanks to all the nice words from people, because seriously, people sometimes can be so nice and supportive, and it was much needed, because I was down in the dumps the last couple of days being sick. Being sick is not my thing. I'm a huge baby. I know that there are people out there saying, well, all guys are babies. Well, I am a huge baby. I'm not afraid to admit it. I can't, I knew I was sick, basically. Here's the timeline of everything. On Monday, when I left for work, I wasn't feeling great. And so I thought it was just, a little thing that would pass. So I get to work, start feeling even worse. By the time the Skraby Show came around that night on Monday, I was feeling so terrible. I was trying to press through on this show, but I was like stuttering and I was forgetting things and I was saying weird words and I was just having a really hard time. And so I knew that on when I went to bed on Monday night, if I woke up on Tuesday feeling that way, I was not going to work, and that's what happened. So the last 2 days, I've basically spent sleeping. I was telling someone, I think it was Rod, actually, on the chat. I was telling him on X that even I didn't play any video games during this entire time that I was out, which tells you everything you need to know about being sick. And this is also the guy who took off 1 day after a shoulder surgery. So missing work is not my thing. I like to post, as we say here on the show. But you know what? I wasn't able to muster up the strength. And I actually had this big announcement that I have today at 6:20. I had this planned for Tuesday. And if you can't hear it already, I have so much more energy than I did earlier in the week. And I don't even, it's, the sick thing is so weird, because as fast as you feel bad, it's as fast as you feel good. And that's what yesterday around like 3 or 4, I started to finally feel like myself. And yeah, so that was the story of the last couple days. I'm sorry. I was supposed to have 4 Skraby shows. I'm only going to end up having 2 Skraby shows. But I do have this big announcement at 6:20 to help everybody through. I have a peace offering for me missing some of these shows. And it's going to be, for all of you out there who know about Skrabinators, you kind of sort of probably know what this announcement is, but I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to make you wait 15 more minutes until we get to 6:20-ish. I'm going to try to time it up like that. One of the things that I heard during the roundtable was Craig saying that the Padres aren't going to make the playoffs. And I thought that was brave. I thought that was a guy being honest. And so by the end of the show, maybe I'll talk about that if we have time and everything. But again, I think that's, to be on the Padres station and actually say what you feel is not easy, because there are people who will come at you with pitchforks and fire. But he did, and I respect him for that. I don't necessarily know that I agree, but like I said, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. We also have here the news of the day coming up, and we also are going to be talking about some of the World Series predictions that were made by Derek Jeter, Big Papi, and A-Rod. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But right now, we need to get into some of the news that's happening around sports. This is mainly some Padres news. So here we go.
It's time to get caught up on the latest with the news of the day.
All right. The first news item of the day is going to be Fernando Tatis Jr. Now, you heard it in the roundtable. Annie brought it up near the end. I didn't ever realize that it was close of Fernando not being able to come back this year. I didn't realize it was that bad because, all teams do this. It's not just the Padres, but all teams do this. And the secrecy, the mystery around injuries, I understand. Again, all teams do this, but it's changed a little bit. And I know that they're not going to tell us everything, nor should they tell us everything. But it was a muscle thing, and then it was a bone thing, and then he was going to be out till the end of the IL. I don't think the timeline was really set in stone. I heard out of the All-Star break, but we'll see when he comes back. It's obviously a few weeks off. Kevin Acee, this is the news story. Fernando Tatis Jr. had an MRI this week that showed the progress and healing the Padres had hoped for. He can continue to incrementally increase his baseball activity. He has already begun playing catch and swinging a bat. So that's huge news for Padres and Padres fans. The Padres need him back in that lineup. And I believe on the roundtable, they were giving all their answers on whether or not the Padres make the playoffs if everybody is healthy. And if Fernando comes back and does what he did for the maybe 3 weeks before he went on the IL, and he does that the rest of the way, I think that's going to be enough to catapult the Padres into the playoffs. But this is all good news. Everything is good news here. And I like to see that he's already swinging a bat. I like to see that he's already playing catch, because that means that he's getting closer to coming back, and he's not, doing the whole rest thing. The rest thing would bother me if I was a player. Oh, just rest. Well, it's not the greatest thing when you have to rest. It isn't. But he is done with that phase. He's continuing to incrementally increase his baseball activity. So that's the first one. And that goes along with that story goes along with this story, because earlier this morning it was noted that Tirso Ornelas of the El Paso Chihuahuas has been put on the Padres 40-man roster, with Yu Darvish being off of it due to leave that he has right now. And so they were able to fill it with Tirso Ornelas. Now, cool thing, he's from Tijuana, so he's a hometown guy. He's just down the road. I'm sure that if he does make his debut at a Petco Park game, that I'm sure his family will be there, so that's awesome. I'm thinking that he grew up being a Padres fan. I don't know that for sure, but you're so close, why not? And here's why it pairs with Fernando, because he's an outfielder. He's mainly a corner outfielder, and the corner outfielders we have right now are Jurickson Profar, which you're not going to take Jurickson Profar out of left field, but then you have Bryce Johnson, you have David Peralta in right field. And I'm thinking that he's going to be put on the Major League roster for Bryce Johnson. Bryce Johnson, hasn't done much at the big league level. He definitely filled in admirably, but he also didn't really have much of an opportunity to do things at the big league level. But I don't see why not. Starting off the second half of the year with a player that has proved to everyone that they can play. Because right now in AAA, for the El Paso Chihuahuas, in 272 at-bats, Tirso Ornelas has 12 home runs, 57 RBIs, and he is hitting .316 with an OPS of .905. And I know everybody's going to say, well, that's the El Paso team. But if you're going to be hitting like that in AAA, why not give him a shot there at the big league level? And he could fill in right field pretty easily. Again, I don't think there's going to be anything happening in left field with Tirso Ornelas, but kind of cool having a guy from Tijuana come and play for the Padres. Now, he hasn't been actually put on the roster yet, and so we have to wait for that, but he has been added to the 40-man roster, which makes it easier for them to put him on the active roster for the Padres starting tomorrow. I mean, we're back after the All-Star break is over, and so tomorrow we'll find out some of these roster moves that the Padres are going to make. But that is the second news item of the day. And the third news item of the day is something that we didn't even really get to talk about on the show today. the schedule for 2025 has come out. And I always love when schedules are released because it's just always fun to look at the different games, all that stuff. And here are some of the main takeaways. And there are many takeaways from this, but here are some of the main takeaways that I think are going to be a big deal for the Padres. They start their season at home with the Braves and the Guardians. So 7 straight games at home for the Braves and the Guardians, and they start there. Then they go to Chicago in early April, which we've known before has been a place where it gets a little cold. So they're going to go to Chicago after that. But here's where I think it's hilarious. They're going to play a 3-game series against ATH. And you might ask, what is ATH? Well, it's the Athletics. And no one knows where they're going to play next year, so they can't really put a city on the calendar because they don't know where the A's are going to play next year. I was reading a lot this morning about how this is, for John Fisher, the owner of the A's, this is not going well. And at this point, they're thinking like Rob Manfred has been sucked into this whole thing, and he's been saying this whole time that everything's going to work out, so he only has one way to go, which is to keep pushing this through so that he doesn't look like he was lying. John Fisher has always been lying, so I don't really care about that. But there's some major feelings that the A's are not going to be moving to Sacramento after this year. No one knows what's going to happen with the A's, so they put ATH on the schedule. Now, June is by far and away, I think, the toughest month for the Padres. It's an absolute gauntlet for the Padres. Only 2 days off that I can count in the whole month of June. And only 10 games at home in the month of June. So they go on a 7-game road trip, and then they come home for 3 against the Dodgers. Then they go for another 7-game road trip, including 4 in LA against the Dodgers. So in back-to-back weeks, you're going to be playing 7 games against the Dodgers, 3 at home and 4 on the road. But so those are a couple of the items that I picked out from the schedule. There's, again, more. But you can go find the schedule if you want. It's on Padres.com. It's on Padres Twitter as well. They finished the season with kind of a tough schedule. They kind of have an easy schedule, not so easy schedule. But they have, let's see, here are the series in September, starting with the Orioles at home. Then they have the Rockies away. Then they have the Reds and the Rockies at home. Then they have the Mets away. And then they have the White Sox at home. Brewers home, and they finish up the season with the Diamondbacks at home. So you got some easy series there, like the Rocky series. I say easy series, and then we know what happens when you say something about the Rockies and how bad they are at something. But that should be a winnable series. I know we're talking about 2025 right now and September of 2025, but this is what we do. And then you have the Chicago White Sox. I can't imagine that they're going to be too well improved. Too well improved? I don't think they're going to be much improved over this year to next year, enough to put fear into the hearts of the Padres and Padres fans everywhere. So that's what the schedule is saying. Go again to Padres.com. Oh, yeah, forgot. The 2025 season is going to begin, the entire 2025 season is going to begin with the Cubs and the Dodgers playing in Tokyo on March 18th and 19th. And Shohei Ohtani, Alvin Gonzalez is noting here, might return as a two-way player there. I got to say, I'm just happy that the Padres are not playing in one of these games. Now, was it fun this year? I heard them talking about on the roundtable. Was it fun this year to have something like that? Yes, absolutely. But I can't even tell you, as a creature of habit, how much my sleep schedule was affected over the next week. I could not feel normal again for quite some time. And so although I enjoyed seeing everybody out there, I still feel like a zombie, or I remember the feeling of that zombie feeling, and I'm just glad that we're not going to have to do it next year. Tyler's calling it the show series. Shohei versus Shota. I like that. I do like that. What series is How You Met Me, McKee? Tell me which series. Oh, yes. I was just talking about it. The series for Korea with the Padres. Yes, duh. Gosh, I think we even talked about Mr. Ballin podcast. I do know that as well. All right, that's the news of the day. That's the schedule. That's my complaints about not having to wake up, or at least my rejoices about not having to wake up early for a game overseas. But when we get back, the announcement you've all been waiting for. Stay tuned. We have it for you next on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
Gambling problem.
right, we're back here. 97.3 The Fan. It's time for the announcement. But first, I want to talk about everybody in the chat right now. Tyler, Rod, Dominic, Jax, Famous, Cell. Cell says, I'm glad you're back. Thank you, Cell. Maria, Diesel. I've already said Tyler. M. McKee, Junior, Annabelle, Jacob. I keep going, just making sure. Victor was there earlier. I'm sorry. Carlos, I believe, was there. Rod is there. So there we go. Jax is there. So that's all the people we got in the chat. Oh, and Tyler's wife, Veronica, is there too. I've met you two multiple times, I believe. It's kind of a weird thing to transition with, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to transition with that. So, the big announcement for today is something that you all loved the first time it came around. The announcement is Skrabinator Game 2 has been figured out, everybody. So if you missed the first Skrabinator night, I called it a night even though the game was at 3:40, so that's what I'm saying, Skrabinator Game 2. Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 is going to be the next game. They're playing the Twins. It's a 3:40 p.m. game. Let me get you my rules. I have it all written out so that I don't forget anything. The ground rules are this. If you went to the last Skrabinator game, sorry, you cannot win again. I do say sorry because I love all of you. But that is a Skrabinator game we'll never forget, everybody. If you signed up for the last Skrabinator game and you did not win, you do not have to sign up again. We are going to be doing some special drawings for people who signed up for the first one. We have all that information. If you want to, you have to bring your own food and drink. I don't mind if people drink in the suite, but please do not get wasted because, you know, I have to watch and make sure that everything is okay and ready to go for the next people that are going to use the suite. I just tweeted from @MattSkraby and @973 The Fan SD about this. So you can go there to find the sign up form and more information. Also, if you don't have X, here's an easy way to find it. Go to 973thefansd.com. Look at the top of the webpage, find the contests and contests and events tab, hover over that, and then click contests. And then on that page, you will see Skrabinator game number 2. So that has the sign up for you. That also has more information on the event. Again, if you went to the last Skrabinator game, you cannot go again. I'm sorry, that's part of my script. If you signed up for the last Skrabinator game, you do not have to sign up again. If you did not win, I should say. If you signed up and did not win for the last game. We're going to be doing special drawings because I want to reward those people who signed up for the first time. So we're going to have a couple special drawings for people who signed up for the first one. You bring your own food and drink. I don't mind if people drink in the suite, but please do not get wasted in the suite. Everybody was very well behaved last time. We had a great time. Padres won. It was a really, really fun day, and so I'm very excited. You guys all told me about it. You said we need a game number 2. And so I went to the bosses. They saw the social media post by all of you. Really, all of you are the ones that got this or made this happen, because if you didn't support this, then they weren't going to give me another night to have tickets for the suite. And basically, if you're wondering, what is a Skrabinator game? Well, the Odyssey suite, the one that we use here for the station that we have for the Padres games, is going to be all to us. No one else is going to be in there except for Skrabinators. So it was really fun. And there's a couple people on the chat right now. Brandon, miss you, Brandon. He was at the first one with his kids and his wife. That was very cool. Sandy was there. That was very cool. M. McKee was not there, but maybe this next one, M. McKee, you never know. You never know. Jacob says, how do I be a part of this? You go to my X page, or you go... You go to my X page. I'll tell you why I'm laughing in just a second. You go to my X page, @MattSkraby. It'll be at the top, the link. Or you can go to 97.3 The Fan SD, and you can go to the contests and events page at the top of the page, and then you go to contests, and you will find it there. So I know that there's going to be some questions about that. Feel free to send any questions my way, but I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. I am going to put it on Facebook a little later. I couldn't get into my Facebook, and that's a 100% truth. Every time I try to sign into Facebook, it's an absolute disaster. It sends me to go get a code. I go get the code's expired. I go try to sign in again and go back to get the code's expired. It's just a disaster. So I gave up on Facebook. I'm going to have to try to figure out a way to do it on the other side. But there it is. The announcement. August 21st, 2024 against the Twins at 3:40 p.m. And if you're thinking about it, August 21st, this is going to be a pretty important game. The Padres are either going to be chasing a wild card spot or, who knows, a division title, or they're going to be completely out of it. Either way, we're going to have a great time. Katrina says, I was a big old loser round run. Here's to game 2. Let's see. The reason I was laughing earlier is because Diesel did go to the first Skrabinator. He said, I feel so abandoned and alone now. I'm sorry. Hey, Katrina, this is nice. 3 days till I hit my 4-year chip. That is a huge, huge accomplishment. Congratulations, Katrina. Wow, we got 2 people with August 23rd birthdays in here. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, again, go. Sandy says, bummed to miss it, but that's fair. I know. It's kind of part of the whole rules. I was like, let's just open it up to everyone again. They're like, no, you can't be taking the same people. And I thought, okay, you're probably right. In that regard, you shouldn't do that. But we had a lot of fun last time, and this time it's going to be as much fun, and I hope you go sign up. So again, I'm going to go over this one more time just so everybody's clear on it. The game is August 21st, 2024, against the Twins at 3:40 p.m. If you went to the last Skrabinator game, you cannot win again. If you signed up for the last Skrabinator game, but you did not get chosen for that game, you do not have to sign up again. We're going to do special drawings for people who signed up for the first one. You bring your own food and drink. I don't mind if people drink in the suite, but just don't get wasted. And you can go to my X at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy Y, and at 97.3 the fan SD is the other X handle. If you don't have X, then again, you can go to the website 973thefansd.com, look at the top, find the contest and events section, hover over that, and then look below. You'll see contests, and then that posting will be right on the page. So there we go. I appreciate all of you because honestly, I'm being dead serious when I say that all of you are the ones who have created this Skrabinator game. So we're gonna keep going with this as long as I can keep it going. And if there's still a demand for it, then keep tweeting the bosses. Actually, tweet the bosses and tell them thank you for allowing this to happen. Because really, without Adam, without Michael, without Peter Schwartz, who's very excited about this. He gave me the go ahead on August 21st, so happy for everyone to be able to join me again this time. All right. Rod says, how about chocolate wasted? You could be chocolate wasted. That's cool. That's all good. You could be chocolate wasted. Dominic said, Skrabinators, hold your liquor. Hey, no, I'm not saying anyone was out of control last time. Actually, everything was very in control. It was very fun. There were a lot of people there. If you go back on my Instagram, Matt Skraby, you could find a picture of all the people that showed up. And again, it was a great win over the Cubs. Seems like forever ago, to be honest. It seems like it was last season, but it wasn't. It was earlier this year. That's how depressing, not depressing. That's how much of a roller coaster this season has been so far for all of us. All of us, I tell you. 1 game over 500, 99 games played, 63 games remain. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where this team goes, and especially by that August 21st game. It's either going to mean a lot, it's going to mean nothing. I think it's going to mean a lot. Trust me. I'm on that side of things. All right, with the big announcement out of the way, I am going to head to break. Also, we talked about Craig Elston. Said he didn't think the Padres make the playoffs. We'll talk about that for a little bit. World Series predictions. Just a lot of fun, easygoing stuff here to close out the Skraby Show. But there you go. Go to 973thefansd.com. Go to the contests and events page, and you will be able to find the sign up for the Skrabinator game. You have to sign up to be considered. So everybody go there right now.
Quitting.
right, back here in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Matt Skraby. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching 97.3 The Fan. If you want to watch, you can go to YouTube. Just search 97.3 The Fan, and you'll be able to find the live show. You can also go to Facebook, Twitch, and our Twitter, our X account, is not connected yet to streaming. So I have put my own Twitter account up there if you want to watch on Twitter, at Matt Skraby. Jacob said something in the chat I need to address. He said, I don't have X, but I did sign up. It's all right. If you don't have X, no big deal. It's almost even better that you don't have X, because I get angry when I go on X. But if you don't have any of those social media platforms, it's all good. All you do is just go to 973thefansd.com, and you can go to the contest page, and you will be able to find that there. The sign up is right there. So Dominic says, bummed I'm missing Skrabynator game by a week. I'm sorry. I had to scour the schedule. And I also got a note on X from someone saying, why can't the game be later next time? I'm a kindergarten teacher. School's already in session, and I can't make it. That is something I will have to take into account a little bit later. And because the reason that we choose these 340 games, the suite is not being used by clients or anything like that. So next time I'm going to aim to try to get one as a 6:40 start time, or maybe even on a weekend so that people can go. I'm trying to figure that out. I want to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity to get to games. And Katie is just joining the chat. Katie was at the first Skrabynator game. She said she wanted to go again. I'm sorry, Katie. You have been denied. What is that? What was that one show? You are the biggest loser. Goodbye. Is that it? Oh, no. Ha! No. You are the weakest link. Goodbye was the one the biggest loser, a whole different show. Whole different show. Already people are excited about this. That makes me excited about this whole thing. I don't know that you guys know how much, it surprises me is the word I'm looking for every time when I put these things up. Yes, they're sweet tickets, but it's kind of, most of you are going to have to go by yourselves. And so all of us are going to be meeting each other. So don't worry. I'm going to be the most awkward person in the suite. Okay. So just know that going into it, I'm always the most awkward person in the suite. So just know that going into it. It's not scary at all. I'm going to make a fool of myself. I'm probably going to say a bunch of random things, but we all had a great time, and the Padres won. Easy Money was also in the suite, made a great point. Skrabynator games are games that the Padres win. There's only been one, but they have won. So there you go. We're going to help the Padres to the playoffs, everyone. And speaking of the Padres, Craig Elston said on the roundtable that he didn't think the Padres were going to make the playoffs. And at face value, talking to a bunch of Padres fans, no one likes to hear that. But I will give Craig credit because he had his reasons for it, and he just doesn't think that they're going to get back. They're going to be able to make it over the hump with all the injuries that they have. And I can kind of agree with that. Now, if they get Fernando back, I think that Fernando will be enough to get them to the playoffs. But if we go and look at the playoff situation right now, I haven't been actually looking at the standings, really. That is 100% true. But there is a pretty packed up wild card race right now. And if you're going to look at some of the teams that are near or above the Padres, right now, the Diamondbacks, the Padres and the Diamondbacks are a game behind. The Mets are in control of a spot. The Cardinals are in control of a spot. And the Braves are in control of the spot. Obviously, the Phillies, Dodgers, and Brewers all have their spot locked up right now because they are winning their division. But when you look at that wild card situation, number one, the Mets were awful to start the year. I'm tired of the Mets, and I'm tired of all the complaining about the Mets. But the Mets just seem like a team that I want to say they're way hot and cold, but they've been so hot lately that I don't know that they're going to go back to the way that they played at the beginning of the year. So you got to keep them as a contender. You got to keep the Cardinals. Although the Cardinals, I could see slipping back because Paul Goldschmidt is getting older. Nolan Arenado is getting older. They have some injuries. They don't necessarily have the pieces, I think, to make a deep run in the playoffs. And I don't know that they're going to. I don't know that they're going to keep the pace that they're doing right now because they started the season dreadfully as well. So did the Mets. And then you have the Atlanta Braves. The Braves, 53-42, kind of done it a little bit with smoke and mirrors. I mean, Marcell Ozuna has been amazing. Ronald Acuna Jr. has been injured. So I don't know. And Spencer Strider is injured as well. The Braves seem like a team that have staying power. If that means that they get in and then they are, knocked out in the first round or something like that. But the Diamondbacks are an interesting team because the Diamondbacks also started slow. There were a lot of teams that started slow this year and have made their push. Now, the Padres have been steady, and that's steady of up and steady of down. And so they win a bunch, and then they lose a bunch, and then they win a bunch, and then they lose a bunch. While the Diamondbacks started out losing a bunch in the beginning, and now they've just won ever since. Diamondbacks are a scary team. Really scary team because I see a lot of those guys from last year on the team who made that run to the playoffs, made that run to the World Series, and they can draw on that. Trust me, when you are a team that is one game back of a wild card spot, and you're the team last year that barely made it into the playoffs to begin with, these guys know that all you need to do is get in, and you could have a good chance at winning the World Series, or at least going to the World Series. I still can't believe the Diamondbacks went to the World Series. But a lot of the core that was there last year is there this year, minus Tommy Pham, addition of Jordan Montgomery. So I don't really know. And if Corbin Carroll gets going, look out. It's kind of scary. I don't like it because the Diamondbacks are a sneaky good team, I think. The Pirates are right below the Padres right now, 1.5 games back. And I don't know that the Pirates, yes, they have the greatest pitcher of all time, Paul Skeens. But I don't know that they're going to... we saw this a couple years ago. I think we saw this last year. The Pirates started out hot, and they were well above 500, and then they went back to being the Pirates. Did I expect them to be 500 at the break? No, I didn't at all. Paul Skeens has helped them. A lot of other guys have helped the Pirates as well. Gosh, what's his name? Why am I blanking on the Brian Reynolds? That's his name. He's been really good for the Pirates this year. So the Pirates have some pieces. I don't know that they have the depth to keep it going for the rest of the season. The Reds, 47-50. They're an explosive team, but they're so inconsistent. And I didn't know this, but Ellie De La Cruz has struck out over 200. I don't remember the exact number, but over 230 times in the last, since the last All-Star game, which is a ton of strikeouts. I mean, Ellie De La Cruz is awesome, but that's way too many strikeouts for me. And this team has gone through really good streaks of hitting, pitching, winning, and then they've just been awful other times where they just can't do anything. So I don't see the Reds having staying power. The Giants, on the other hand, 47-50. Blake Snell had a pretty good start before the All-Star break. Will he do it again? Who knows? We know that Blake Snell is a second-half guy. But the Giants scare me. I don't know that they have enough to last down the stretch if they suffer any more injuries, because they've had a ton of injuries this year. Them and the Dodgers have had a ton of injuries this year, which I'm not so mad about. I mean, if they're going to be injured players, why not put them on the teams that the Padres are competing with in their own division? The Giants, I think, can stay right there, and they're going to be a part, as what Chris said earlier, the Peloton, which, by the way, I got to give Chris a little bit of credit for that whole thing. His analogy about the Padres are in a Peloton group of 8, which, if you don't know, a Peloton is not the stationary bike. Yes, it actually is a stationary bike, but a group of bicyclists is called a Peloton. And so Chris was saying that it's Tour de France. They're in the Peloton. They have to stay within the pack to get to the playoffs. They cannot fall far behind, because you know what happens when you fall far behind if you're part of that little bicyclist group. You just keep falling further behind. And if the Padres don't start this road trip here right out of the break with some wins, it's going to be a little depressing. Not going to lie. It's not going to knock them out of the playoffs, but I know people hate when we sit here and we say this is a must-win road trip, but it absolutely is. Everything from here on out is must-win in my opinion. It's not like I'm saying they have to win every single game, but they have to go on a little bit of a streak here. I would like to see for the Padres to go on another one of those streaks as they did right before the All-Star break, where they were winning double-digit games, and everything was good in Padres land. Everyone is good from Padres land, or everyone thought it was good, and then they went back into the tailspin, which is something they're going to need to not do here in the second half. Pretty brilliant analysis by me. They can't lose in the second half if they want to make the playoffs. Thank you, Matt Skraby. Now, the rest of the teams, the Chicago Cubs, yeah, they're good. I just don't know. I thought they were better. And here they are middling the entire way. Now, I'm going to a family reunion in Iowa in a few weeks. And I am actually going to go see a Cubs game at Wrigley. That'll be the first time I've ever been to Wrigley before. And I'm pretty excited about going. I picked the series. Didn't know that my Scrabinator game was going to be against the Twins, but I'm going to see the Twins twice because I'm going to see the Twins in Chicago, and then I'm going to see the Twins here at Petco Park. But the Cubs, I just don't know that they have the staying power. Nationals, nah, I don't think so. Colorado Rockies, I mean, come on. Miami Marlins, come on. But I would say there's two real threats in my mind for the teams that are outside of the wild card spot right now. Inside the wild card spot, once again, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, New York Mets. And if one of those wild card teams falls, I'm thinking it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. But the two teams that I'm worried about underneath those three wild card spots are the Diamondbacks and the Giants. Funny that they're in the division. It just, when it comes down to divisional stuff, I don't like the matchups against the Diamondbacks. The Giants, I think the Padres have a better matchup against the Giants. But the Diamondbacks, for some reason, seem like they have the Padres number. They won 2 of 3 here. Last time they played, it was a couple weeks before the All-Star break. So that is something that concerns me. They're kind of pesky. They're kind of annoying. They're always there. And they have players that are very good. And if Jordan Montgomery can come back around and be good for them, that's not going to be good for the Padres. It just feels like the Diamondbacks have the upper hand. I don't know. Dominic says, I'll be at the Thursday game next week against the Nats. Should be interesting. It should be interesting indeed. They go to Cleveland. Then they have a day off. Then they have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Washington. Now, Padres already swept the Nationals here at Petco Park. We all know what happened with Keibert Ruiz and Jurickson Profar and all that. And I'm very curious to see what happens. I'm very curious to see if there's going to be any retaliation. I'm very curious to see if there's going to be any ill will. For some reason, people are very bothered by Jurickson Profar around the league. I don't know why. I guess I do know why, but he's all good in my eyes. If Jurickson Profar keeps putting San Diego on his back, then I'm going to have his back as well. And he's going to have to keep it up this second half. I mean, he looked good in the All-Star game. I think this is one of those special years for a really, really good player, a player with a long MLB career. But this is one of those special years that, like, some players don't ever have. Jurickson Profar is definitely having that special year, and he is having fun doing it. His son and him on the red carpet in, what was it? It was Dallas, yeah. Or Texas, the Texas Rangers Stadium, Arlington. The red carpet there, that was awesome. They had matching suits. All the stuff that I saw from All-Star Week was pretty good. And I also I almost got caught a few times. I got to say, on some of these tweets, people are making Livy Dunn AI videos or deep fakes, and they're having her say, like, I want Paul Skeens to go to this other team. So I'm sitting there scrolling through X, and I see this video, and the caption says, Paul loves it here in Pittsburgh, but I can't wait until he gets traded to the Angels. And I'm like thinking, Angels? What? Why would she ever say that? So I click on it, and it was a deep fake video, and there you go. I almost got fooled, but I was like, Why would she ever say that? She didn't say it at all. So be careful when you're on social media, everybody. There are a lot of fake videos out there, and I keep getting caught almost reposting them and saying, what? And then people will get all over me about how this is a fake video, and then I'll feel dumb and all this other stuff. But there you go. Craig Elston said you didn't think the Padres can make the playoffs, but I think they can. I do, especially if Fernando comes back. Especially, I mean, we haven't heard anything about Joe Musgrove in a little bit. Last I heard, he was throwing. I'm hoping that means that he's going to be, this All-Star break. They're just kind of trying to keep it under wraps, and he's back sooner rather than later. They can't start Adam Major anymore. That's not something that the Padres are going to be able to do. We've already seen what Adam Major has, and again, he's not going to be a terrible player, or probably won't be a terrible player as time goes on, but right now it's just not the right time for him. Padres need to win games, and he doesn't put them in the spot to win games. And so if you don't do that, then what are you going to do? You got to go somewhere else. And so they are. I think Johnny Burrito's stretching out down in AAA, all that stuff. Real quick, World Series predictions. Derek Jeter said the Phillies over the Orioles. I wouldn't mind that matchup if that was it. I just don't want to see the Phillies win. Carl Schwarber, just too good. Yes, I know his name's Kyle. Red Sox over the Phillies is what Big Papi said. I mean, come on, Big Papi. You're going to choose your Red Sox? I don't think they're that good. And then A-Rod said the Yankees over the Dodgers. I mean, that would be, for me, a puke-tastic World Series matchup. Not a fan of that matchup whatsoever. I don't even think the Yankees are going to make it there. And the Dodgers have to prove that they can win in the playoffs. Come on. Come on. But there you go. Phillies over Orioles for Jeter. Red Sox over the Phillies for Big Papi. And Yankees over Dodgers for A-Rod.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Dominic says, series of the worst accents. That is very true. My daily gripe today, I don't have a daily gripe. I'm just happy to be back at work. Happy to be doing the Skraby Show. Happy to be able to announce the Skrabinator Game 2, which I was going to do on Tuesday, but obviously I couldn't. So lots of good stuff here. I have no complaints today. Now get me tomorrow. Get me next week. Next Skraby Show is going to be Monday with the Padres having an off day. I'm sure that I will find some gripes to gripe up about here when we get back on Monday. But tomorrow we got Gwen and Chris from 2 to 3. And then Ben and Wood, 6 to 10 a.m. Annie and Elston from 10 until 2. All right, that's it. Thanks to everybody who joined me tonight. Thanks to everybody who supported me this week while I was sick. I appreciate you all. I will talk to you tomorrow.
Baseball in America's finest city, and no one can talk more about baseball or the San Diego Padres than we can on Annie and Elston. Listen daily if you want to know the ins and outs of Padres baseball. Annie and Elston, weekdays 10 to 2, right here on 97.3 The Fan.
The MLB trade deadline is right around the corner, and I'm Chris Mack here to help you beat the books with BetQL. With the Midsummer Classic over, the trade deadline now just a little less than 2 weeks away. Baseball back in action tomorrow, but it's the perfect time to look at which teams could make a playoff push in the next 2 months. I'm Chris Mack. Better beat the books. Download the BetQL and BetMGM apps today.